Hello everyone, Ceri the Crafter here, that's C-E-R-I the Crafter, and it's August 2024 and this is the colour combo. Now if you don't know what I'm talking about, colour combo is something myself and Paula Keen in the Netherlands run for a Facebook group called the Makers of Mixed Media Art and Artists. Description box below, you'll have a link to it if you wish to join it, and there's several thousand people in there and they're all creative and they're all very supportive, and that's what's important. They're also from various different talented backgrounds. You'll have to answer either 2 or 3 questions to get in, and they're easy questions. So in a nutshell, color combo is we launch 3 colors each month generated by subscriber, followers and friends requests, and the colors for this month are salmon and pink. I don't have salmon pink, I've got coral, but if I add coral and white together, I'm sure I'll get my version of salmon pink. Burnt orange, again, I don't have burnt orange, so I'm going to use cadmium orange hue, and I'm going to add a bit of country red to it as well. That should put it in the right place. And the third color, for once I do have it, is pale lemon yellow. Now I always say to anyone doing this combo is not about spending extra money and buying extra paint. It's about finding the color paints or mixing the color paints that come closer to your perception of that color and then using them, because it's all about exploring color combinations and not so much spending money. Now, on top of this, you're allowed to add white. So we've already got white there. You're allowed to add black, and you can add a metallic, and I'm going to use iridescent copper. The metallic, the black and the white are not essential. However, the other colors are essential and should kind of feature in the final piece. Now, I normally do something like a background or a project, and I thought this time I want to get away from my gel plate a bit, although I do have a 5x7 with me because I'm going to use that as a mixing palette, and I've got a plastic palette knife because I don't use metal on my gel plate because I don't want to damage my gel plate. So I was thinking, how am I going to do this? So this, you may recognize if you're a subscriber, is my dump art journal. I'll put a link to this playlist in the description box below. And basically I made this cover with removable inserts, and I made the removable inserts out of well, this is brown paper packaging. This one here is maps. This is brown bags. So basically it's a safe place for me to just throw things and play with. And there have been a few previous ones. That's one I did previously. That's one I did previously. I think I did that one video. I think there's another one in here. Yeah, I didn't do that one on video. That was just me playing. However, flipping through this, because I thought, should I do it on map or not? Let's take this out of the way because I no longer need that at the moment. Just put it up there out of arm's reach. I was flipping through because I thought, oh, I could probably adapt that to the colour combo. But I found in here, and this is where I clean off old paints. As I'm working on my gel plate, I will very much clean off paints into here. I sometimes use, I've got old books that were picked up in bargain bins, and I'll just spread paint onto these and use these. There's another one that's on the go. It's just a way that I don't waste paint, and then once they're painty enough, I'll take the page out, and I've got a box full of painted papers, and I can use them for collage, smaller projects. I can use them in many other ways. Anyway, I came across this double page spread, and this one has already got salmon pink in it. It's already got something that I could call burnt orange. The only thing it doesn't really have is lemon yellow. And it obviously doesn't have a metallic, a black or a white, although you could call the page itself white, and you could use these markings here as black. So I just want to create something that's, I would say, pretty much an abstract. Yes, let's call it an abstract because I don't really intend it to be anything specific, and I want to play around with one of my own stencils and some of my stamps to just make this interesting. Now, if I am cleaning a brayer off, which is, this is a brayer, this is what it's stuck with paint. There you go. Which I brayer here, and then I could brayer onto here. I will open a pair of pages in here. Let's see, where can I go to? Let's go to this one, and I can just clean my brayer off on there so I don't waste paint. And this is how this must have been made, although I think this must have been some palette knife or a scraper I was using. So I think first of all I want to put some yellow into this, Now, the other thing about the colour combo is I can take these colours, add white to them to make tints, add black to them to make them shades. I could actually mix them with each other as well to get different colours on top. I always do this with this lid. There you go. I forget to wipe the top when I put the lid on. So I'm just going to come in with a little bit of this colour because I just want to make sure that it's present on the page. And I'm literally going to come in and I'm just going to strike bits on here just so I can arguably say, yes, this colour is on here. This is really sticky today. Maybe I didn't clean it, or maybe it needs cleaning. So, right, so I now have all of the colours of the colour combo on there. What I'm going to do is just swap this out for this a second and just pick this up, press it down here, and on the other one, just clean off my brayer a bit. And this is how I build up these backgrounds. The reason I created this art journal was purely because I'm a perfectionist. And the problem I have is that I have some really nice art journals. I mean, I like the Diane Reevely large art journals to work in. They're not cheap. I don't want to do something that can destroy the art journal, so I was always a bit nervous about using them. However, with this one, I can play with new techniques. I can do anything I like in here. If it goes wrong, it goes wrong. I'm not worried about it. So that's why I've got my dump journal on the go. Right, so we've got my colours on here, and now I can come in and think about doing stuff with detail. And as I said, I want to think about something abstract. Now, from time to time, I'm going to need to hit this with a hairdryer just to make sure that I've knocked stuff back so it's dry enough for me to lay stuff over the top. But I think what I'm going to do first of all is I'm going to come in with some burnt orange, and I'm going to make it this sort of burnt orange, this quite dark. And I'm going to use some bubble wrap because it's me and I always use bubble wrap. Although I'm really excited. Okay, what month is it? It is August, isn't it? Earlier this month, a new set of my designs for foam stamps launched for PM Artist Studio, whom I designed for. And I designed 3 small bubble wrap stamps. I've done a small, a medium and a large, which I'm extremely pleased about because it means I can free up half a drawer of these sizes just because I got the one of the stamps. The stamp is 3.5 by 2.5, and it's got an organic edge so you can line it up and move it around. The reason I can't show it to you yet is it hasn't been sent to me yet. It's either somewhere between Texas and here, or it's not here yet. So, but I have seen them. Patricia from PM Artist Studio used it in their lives. I will put a link to it in the description box below, just in case it's something you go, oh, I'd like to have a look at that. I can't wait. When I get it, I will definitely play with it. So I'm just going to pick up some bubble wrap here, put in just pieces of interest into this. And I'm gaining interest because I'm actually, let's just brayer that a little bit. I'm actually highering the contrast of the orange. So I'm making it more pungent. Let's pop that down the middle of there. Right, and I'll do a little bit more down here. I think I could do with a little bit. Right, well that's sat there. Let's bring in this one and just use up this. This is a great way just to use up paints and give yourself the freedom to create interesting backgrounds for collage. I mean, that's lovely. I mean, I've got a bit on here, just run that down the sides. There you go, that's probably finished that page, to be honest with you. So here we are, dry enough to the touch. It's probably not dry all the way through the core, but it's dry enough to the touch. Now I want to come in now, and I've got this idea. As I said, abstract is where I'm going, but I do have an idea. So I'm going to pull in, now this is a stencil I actually launched last year, but as you can see, I've not used it yet. And it's called Whimsical Whatnot Doodle Shapes. Mouthful in itself. It does come in 3 different sizes. I think there's a 10 by 8 and a 5 by 7 in this. But I just wanted to play with this because I've got this kind of idea. And I wanted to play with the idea of technology in the background. It'll hopefully it'll make sense when I've done this. In my little mind, it's made sense. So I'm going to use my iridescent copper. Probably going to need a reasonably large amount of it, and I need to get a sponge. Now, this is just a bit of packing sponge from something or other. I think this was when we had our kitchen done, and it came from the sink. So I'm just going to dab it in, dab all of the excess off, and then I'm just going to pounce it up and down in the areas of the stencil. And what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to create a metallic background that I can then stamp on in a little while. Now, I don't need to catch all of the areas. I don't need everything as it is on the stencil itself, but there are a few areas I really would like to catch. If it moves, thank goodness, I can just move it back into place without moving any of the details. Stop moving and be good all over, really. So, and you could do this just by using shapes. You don't need to be using a stencil with this. Although I'd love to see you using my stencil, but you know, I'm not going to get picky with it. I'm kind of thinking of sweeping across. So I've got a bit of a sneaky way to make one side of the page look different than the other side of the page. I hope I've got a sneaky way of making them look different anyway. I think that's possibly... I wasn't going to do that square, but I think I am now. I'm probably going to come in afterwards and define the outside edges of these with some doodling or with some other shapes. I think that'll do. Right, that's enough there. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn this around and put it down here. See if I can't line that up roughly there, and then continue the design down across the page. Now, I don't really want to do any that are going to be sliced in half. And I am trying to be quite precise with this because I've got more to do on it. And I do have an idea potentially for the edges. I mean, as with everything, guys, I start creating, and if my gut says I need to do something different, I do something different. I think that's the joy of doing art. You can listen to your gut, you can go with your instinct, you can do whatever you please, because at the end of the day, you're doing your art for you. Well, I'm doing my art for me anyway. I'm sharing it with you because you're my friends, you're my followers, you're my subscribers. However, I'm doing my art for me because it helps me with my mental well-being for nothing else. Right, I think that's pretty much done. I can see the shapes. That's all that really matters at this point. Okay, so that's going to need a little bit of a drying eventually. And I'm back. So we're all nice and dry. Right. Now what I want to use is I'm going to use this. This is one of my new foam stamp designs, and it's called Mark Making. I believe this is called Connections. And the reason I want to use this is because I'm trying to show something about hidden technology. I know it's going to be a really abstract thing, but everything I create either has to have a story or a message or something that makes sense for me to put the design on the page. So I'm going to use this as the technology that's hidden within this scene. So I'm going to come back in and I'm going to lay the pieces back down and hope to goodness I can get them to lay down where they were before. Mind you, I am going to be outlining this with Posca pens. So I'm not too worried, but I'm a little bit worried. So I'm going to use black archival. Now, the trick with this is going to be, I need to stamp it in such a way that each individual box looks like an individual box. So I'm going to use Post-it notes, sticky notes, to mask off certain areas. It's going to be quite a time-consuming exercise. So if you do feel you want to fast forward, I'm never going to know, and I don't really mind. I mean, I fast forward other people's videos. So, but what I'm doing is I'm isolating areas so that I don't have overlap. So just spraying out my black acrylic, leaving my load of paint on there, tapping until I can see that it's on there. I'm going to come in and just stamp into the square. Then I'm going to lift these up and move on to another area. Let's go across there. Lift this off here. Now I'm going to have to be careful I don't get paint on my fingers as I do this. If these start to get too messy, I can easily just change them out and let them dry, and then they become another piece of art in of themselves. So I come in here. So as I said, feel free guys to go ahead and fast forward, because I'm going to do this across all of these areas. And I can see that it might become a bit tedious to watch, but I'm also one of these people who doesn't fast forward stuff. So just know that I'm not a lover of someone who fast forwards, but that's my choice and no one else's. Right. As I said, these get a little bit messy. I'll put them to one side and let them dry so I can come back in and reuse them again. What I'm trying to avoid is the pattern going across two areas. I don't mind there. It makes sense for it to go across there. It's like here, this makes sense for it to go across here. Well, it does in my mind anyway. And as these have got an organic edge, I can come in with one and then pop another one in there. See, so that works for me. Right, now I'm getting into dangerous areas here because I'm trying to remember which bits are white and which bits are metallic. This is going to be a bit of a tricky area to mask off and do. There may be an easier way to do this, guys, but this is just how my brain functions. I think of an idea, I follow it through to its most logical conclusion for the way my brain is wired, which is probably a little different than most people's, I think, because I certainly don't do things the easiest way per halves. And come in down here and just catch those. I don't mind if there's spits in the middle, that's actually okay as well. So you get the idea. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to pause the video and I'm going to complete both sides of this, and then I'm going to bring you back, only because I don't want you to get bored and click off. I'd rather you watch the whole project. That's the reason I'm doing it in the first place. So bear with me, back in 2 seconds, guys. So here we are, this is all nice and dry, and as you can see, I stamped them into the areas only that are metallic, and they'll become more prominent once I outline them. But there's another stage of mark making I want to do first, and I want to use white to do it. So just using white acrylic paint, don't need a lot because I'm not going to do a lot of it. And I've got a bit of corrugated packaging here. I love using corrugated packaging. So I'm just going to spray this out. And I'm thinking this area here and possibly some down there. So I'm just going to come in, tap it in the paint a few times. I'm going to come in, give it a little bit of rub. As you can see, it just gives it that nice textural feel to it. Now, obviously, if you do it in two directions, you end up with a grid. But that's not exactly what I'm doing here, but it's good to know there are options. Right, and I want a bit down here. I try to line the lines up the best I can, but I'm not going to go insane about trying to keep them perfect. Actually, what I want to do is just try and join the lines a little bit in the middle there. There you go, so they're not so segregated. I think down there and there needs some as well. So one thing I like about mixed media, you play, and a lot of people say to me, "Well, Ceri, how do you know what to do next?" I don't. I just literally play. Sometimes I make a complete and utter pig's ear of things. Those you sometimes don't see. Sometimes you do. I mean, I've tried to be as open and transparent as I can possibly be when I do my art, so you can see that it doesn't always work. Okay, I'm liking that. That has a light feel about it. I now need to think about where I'm going. Now, I would normally put a focal point on something, but when it's come to abstract, the question is, do I need a focal point? Now, a focal point could be a word. It could be a saying. It could be a phrase. It could be any of the above. It could be a number. It could be a symbol. It could be anything you choose it to be honest. So I'm not sure yet. I think what I want to do is I want to do the next stage of this, which is going around these areas with a black Posca pen or an acrylic marker. And then we'll see where we're at, and we'll see if it needs something. And if that's the case, it needs something, then I'll need to actually root around in my draw of words or images or things to see whether I can find something that will just make this all coherent, although I quite like the abstract feel of this. So I'm just going to hit this with a hairdryer one more time because I can't draw over wet paint. So here we are once again, all nice and dry, all ready to go. If you're ever going to use a marker or a gel pen or anything on a paint of any sort, make sure it's fully dry first, because sometimes if the paint is wet, it can stop your pen working. So I'm just going to use a PC3M Posca marker in black. Just make sure it's nicely juicy. I've chosen it relatively thick because these lines on here will then look a little slimmer. Now all I'm going to do, and it's going to be a long process again, is I'm going to draw around the metallic shapes. Now, as they're quite organic shapes, they're going to stand out beautifully, as you can see. Now, circles for me are a bit of a pain to draw because I'm not perfectly good at drawing them, but I don't know how many of us draw a perfect circle anyway. I certainly do not. Now, because this marker is on top of acrylic, it may not dry instantly, so I'm trying not to rub my hand across anything. I think we've only got these two shapes to do now. Okay, is that done? I think that's done. Okay, that's dramatic. That's given me something. Right, do I want something else? I think I do. I feel I've got a thinner Posca here. Let's see how thin this is. Right, this is a PC1MR or dash 1MR. And I think I'm just going to do some fake writing in here, but quite small. But I feel it needs something. As I've said it before, some would say this is actually my real handwriting. I tell you now, it's not far off. And it helps that I've got those lines. That really helps me fill in the gaps. And then we'll have a look and see if I need anything else. Now, I kind of think it needs something down here that's not my messy writing. I think I might have to look in my box of magazine snippets for words or something. Well, I'm going to have to sign it anyway, so I don't just sign it as I've got the pen in my hand. Also a little bit of something up here. Yeah, I do. I think it needs something there. Right, I'm going to have to pause you possibly for the last second, just to see whether I can find something that will go across there. I've got a whole drawer full. 1 second. This is a whole drawer of words and phrases and things I've snipped out of magazines and books. I built it up over a really long time, guys. So this is where I get most of my words from. What's that one there? How mushrooms are changing the world. Are those mushrooms? The colours are perfect. I don't think I can call them mushrooms. Right, I want to have a little look and see if there's anything in this box. So back in 2 seconds, guys. So I found something in the box that I thought was perfect, because as I said, this was all about the technology behind the scenes. And guess what I found behind the scenes? So I'm going to stick this on, and I've always said down there, and I think it needs to be outlined in black just to make it pop off the page a little bit. So let's grab myself a brush. That one will do. I've got some extra heavy gel medium here. It probably doesn't need to be extra heavy gel medium. It just happens to be the one that I reached and pulled out. Just put it on the back of here. I want to be reasonably heavy-handed with it because it's going to go onto acrylic paint. So just me erring on the side of caution. Is that straight is the question. I think it's as straight as it's going to be. You've always got to be a bit cautious with magazine snippings, because sometimes the ink moves. It depends on the quality of the magazine, I know. I have been known to brush clear gesso over the front and backs of things that I'm sticking down from my magazine, purely for the simple reason that it means they don't ripple as much. And this was rippling a little bit there, but I don't know whether that's this or what's in the background. Let's put the lid back on there. So I think I'm going to call that done. Let's just have a little last look at it, just to have a bit of a think. See, to me that feels like it needs something up there as well. But I don't actually know what I will put up there. And I do quite like the abstractness of this. So what were the colours again? Right, salmon pink. We've still got salmon pink. I can see it. It's in here. So it's not like that's hidden. Burnt orange is quite prevalent. And pale lemon yellow is actually in there as well. So everything I'm supposed to have on here is on here. I found that this was quite difficult because all of the colours are quite close to each other. So trying to get some drama into this has been a bit of a challenge. I suppose I could have come in and put white into these circles, but I know my Posca pen doesn't give a really good white, and I don't really want to go in and hand paint all of those with white acrylic paint. I'd rather have something I can just dab. I think we're okay with that. I can't think of anything else I want to put. I think I'm going to call that done, guys. I do. It was just playing around with an idea of the technology behind the scenes. I keep saying behind the scenes, and that is written there. I do need to draw around that. So give me a second. I'm going to drop the volume now, guys. And we're back. That's enough to get that dry enough. Right, so this needs a line or two around it. And I'm thinking of doing it with a thinner one. And as you know, I like to do double lines when I frame things out. So I'm just going to bring in two double lines. I'm going to bring in a double line, because two double lines is 4, isn't it? I just had a thought, does that need a number? If I did a number up there, what colour would it be? Black would be too much. White would be too much. No, let's just leave it. I'm going to not dither anymore. I'm going to say that's done, guys. Bit of an abstract play. That's the colour combo. Okay, I'm back. I finished the video and I actually started cleaning up, and I kept looking at this and looking. I couldn't work out what it needed, and then I remembered I had some of this Tim Holtz tissue paper, and knowing it's black and white, I thought, you know what, that might just be what this needs. So I pulled out 2 pieces. I tore this piece off to go here, and I tore this piece off to go here, and I think that's going to be what this needs. It'll look quite busy, but actually I don't mind it. I'm trying to think whether I want to... No, I do like it like that. And I have said I quite like the idea of nature a couple of times, so maybe this is my version of nature. So I'm just going to put a couple of these cookie mats behind here just to protect everything else. And well, this is washable. I'm going to use some matte gel medium. Oh, I'll clean a bit of stickiness off it. Squeeze a bit of that out. I'm just going to use this as a distress brush, again by Tim Holtz. Now I've got to realize how big that is. So let's give this over here. Sometimes it just is not finished. Sometimes it's never going to be finished. Sometimes it was finished 5 minutes ago and I went overboard and did too much. Now I've had to be a little bit careful here with what I'm doing with the matte gel medium, because Posca pens can move when they get wet. So I'm trying to be a little bit cautious of that. And this will dry clear. I'll pick it up. So I think the trick is going to be to brush it on and get it down quickly before the Posca pen becomes mobile again, should we say? Right, I think I want to let that dry. So, oh, I've moved it. Oh, that was a bit of luck. I'd removed it. So I think I'm going to let that dry, and then you will see it in the thumbnail. But I think that's possibly what I wanted. I just wanted something else in it. I know it's still a bit abstract-y. I do quite like where we've gone with it. Just smooth out a couple of those wrinkles in there. My finger's probably not going to do anywhere near as much damage as if I tried brushing it again. At the end of the day, it is tissue paper, although it's not like gift wrap tissue paper. So there you go, guys. That's that finished. I'm happier now. I know it needed something. I'm still not 100% certain it's right. I mean, if it was up to me, I would be adding another color to this, but that's not what the color combo is about. So for the second time. I'm Ceri the Crafter. That's Ceri the Crafter. Goodbye now.